Hello, I'm Sora Luxon, and this is Lesson 24, Deprogramming. First and foremost, thank you everyone for your patience. There hasn't been a Magick lesson released for a handful of days. I haven't released a new lesson in a span of time. I was called away to attend to an important matter for 4 days. And then there's been a seemingly endless host of other tasks requiring my attention. But I'm here now, so thank you for waiting if you were waiting. And if you weren't, welcome to my humble little YouTube podcast in case this is your first listen. Also, I really have to say yet again, just endless, infinite gratitude to everyone from me. I'm so grateful for your constant support and generosity of spirit, both towards me personally and towards my little Etsy shop. I'm so humbled and grateful for the energy and time that people are choosing to share with me. Even if it's time spent asking me questions, that's still time and energy you're choosing to share. And I value it as I value you. Even if I can't always respond to every comment, right? Even if I can't always answer every question, or more usually don't always have an informed answer to give you and have to redirect you towards someone who does, every comment and message and success story of a magical working turned miracle that someone emails or messages or comments to me really does get read by me. It makes me smile. And it reinstills in me the conviction that it is an honor and a privilege to serve every frat or soror member of the magical community, this great wide magical community that's invisible all around us, right? People who may be working the great art in private. It is an honor and a privilege to be here working the craft with all of you. I recently had this email. I'm thinking about this now, right? That how grateful I am and how I want to re-express it yet again. Because I've recently had this email on Facebook. I think it's called an email message on Facebook. I don't know. But from someone who was thanking me simply for being the one who suggested a magical training book to them. Because they happened to hear the title, and they wouldn't have heard it otherwise if I hadn't said it on my YouTube for this book. And it was because they got the book, and then decided to really dedicate themselves to that outlined work in there, that occult practice that's given in the self-initiation course. And now they've quit smoking, right? They've done self-charged sigil work to improve other physical habits that they have. They've moved out of a place that they weren't happy in. As they put it, they were finally able to start taking these steps that they didn't even know they wanted to create great change in their life, right? They began steps down the tunnel toward their goal, I think is how they put it. That they couldn't see that there was a light before, right, at the end of the tunnel, but now they're actually moving towards it. And it was Magick, and it was this book, and it was my recommendation just to get them this book in front of them that they think brought them there. And first of all I can say is you got you there. I am so grateful for your gratitude, and you are very welcome, right? But this ability where you couldn't see these goals before or these things that you wanted and could have, and now you can. Yeah, you can. Magick will do that for you. It will do that to you. It reveals all sorts of things, even those pesky, tough things you might have been avoiding acknowledging, right? Or thought you couldn't ever get a handle on before. Welcome to the occult, brother. We're glad to have you. And yeah, it's empowering. And that's all on you, friend. You empowered you. You did that. Nothing to thank me for, but you're very welcome all the same. Bob Proctor is the self-help guy. He talks a lot about the psychology of the mind in a lot of his self-help courses, right? Not about the occult specifically, but about individuals having a self-limiting set of beliefs, or this all too common state of selfdom where the subconscious beliefs someone has and the actual conscious behaviors that are being done by them aren't the same. So there's just this constant struggle of imbalance that keeps people or a person from ever being able to get results, right? These core beliefs, conditioning, programming, these subconscious things, very deeply embedded, sometimes narrow religious dogma, even addiction, right? It starts somewhere. It starts when you begin the habit, and that habit becomes a belief and then reinforced. However you want to describe it, it's all the same mess of you not having access to controlling your own power and make your own best choices for yourself. And that's what Magick does. It empowers you to make those choices. It empowers your core beliefs, right? It lets you see this conditioning that you haven't picked for yourself. And it can be really, really difficult to shift or remove or change that conditioning. Sometimes you have to get exterior help to manage it, right? That's what most therapy is. That's professional exterior help. And sometimes that's necessary. And that's what it's doing, right? That therapy is seeking to change some unhealthy belief system that isn't serving someone well within their psyche into something healthier that serves them better. I really got really lessony very quickly here. I just kind of fell right into it. So let me hold up for a second before I go even further on. I need to remember to give a quick shout out to Woodsong Herbs, mostly because people who know me in real life, right? People who know me in the real are continually asking me where I always get all my amazing jars of fancy glass teas, right? Those loose leaf teas I always have around that people are always asking me about. Those are from Woodsong Herbs. I don't actually produce those, right? Thank you. I know I have a lovely garden, but I am not producing this beautiful product, this tea that I'm always drinking. It's from Woodsong Herbs. That's the name of the business, right? Wood rather than metal, and song as in music, and herbs on the end. You can Google it. The wonderful ladies, Jewel and Kay, who run the entire operation top to bottom. I know them in the real too, and it's just a great product. There's no other way to put it. And then on top of that, they just happen to be the best sort of people. Both of them are just truly amazing individuals. Witches know their tea, man, right? So you want good tea, come to an occultist and ask for their recommendation. I'll tell you where I get mine. Witches know their tea. They know their tea better than anyone. It tastes better and it does amazing things. It's so good. So, and also, it's where I got the inspiration for how to package my uncrossing herbs to sell everyone, right? People have been begging me for these dry occult recipe ingredients directly from my shop instead of having to grow them and make them at home. A few people that know me in real life, right? So thank you to Woodsong Herbs for that inspiration, because that glass jar and the cloth on top, the mason jar, and how to package it, that's inspired by Woodsong Herbs' packaging for their teas that I love so much. Thank you, Woodsong. It's so nice I have to say it twice, right? And thank you a third time, because third time's the charm. So much occult in our natural language. Anyway, now that that's out of the way, now that I've told you and answered that question, because like 5 people have asked me, back to deprogramming instead of tea talk. Now that I've gone on about tea for 5 minutes and really want some tea. Deprogramming, which has got to be the most clickbaity title I've used thus far in these podcast titles on YouTube, right? There's that phrase, clickbait, right? It's like when you use the word sex or secret in a title or misspell something on purpose in order to get people to click it more or faster. I'm pretty sure deprogramming as a word must fall into that realm of clickbaity type words, because I have this feeling that when most people see this word deprogramming, they immediately think of the CIA and Project Paperclip or something along those lines. And that's a thing, sure. But the thing with deprogramming is it's not just this conspiracy-esque thing. It's this very real and necessary thing. Like I was saying before, though, it can be very hard. It can require outside assistance, right, like in therapy. And sometimes even though a person may want to begin making better choices for themselves, because I recently had another message, someone's caught up in a habit they can't quite break free of. And what I could say to them most, I think what I need to say here is, you give it time, right? Give it a chance. Magic and occult practices, like everything else, they are an informed series of habits and patterns that you are controlling and empowering yourself with. Controlling, that's an interesting word fusion. But it can take more than a month. In a lot of initiatory systems, you won't even see an initiate becoming an initiate before having done 3 months to a year's worth of pattern and habitual practices first. And a lot of that can be because of this, because you're setting a power in place and a pattern in place to give and take power from. And you need to give that time to take effect. So to the person who specifically was asking me about this bad habit that hasn't quite shifted as quickly as they've wanted it to yet, I'd say give it a chance, right? Sometimes you need to get your conscious mind out of the way. I've discussed that in earlier lessons. Sometimes you need to give a sigil the chance to take effect in a meaningful way. And if you're thinking about it all the time and how it's not working, then it isn't going to. You need to put it out of your mind, and you just need to do the occult practices and give them the chance and the time that they need to build up the power to take effect. So try that first before continuing to be anxious or worried about this thing that hasn't changed yet. So beyond that, right? But this is the point. It can be even this person wants to make a better choice for themselves and they're struggling with it. So making better choices, taking different actions, this can be very difficult. Changing things so that your life can be better, whatever better might mean to you personally. Sometimes, even though a person wants to start taking hold of some of their limiting or possibly corrupted patterns, behaviors, core belief systems, right? These things that maybe have been put there by other people, sometimes usually in our childhood before we had any control over the situation. Sometimes, even though you want to do that, you just don't know how, or how to look within yourself to start finding those corrupted belief systems, right? Or how to apply a process necessary to start dissolving them, to deprogram them, right? Those answers are within ourselves. They are. Magick tells you this loudest and most often. Stop looking for truth from a guru, right? Or someone else's mindset, or ideological belief system, or cult leader, or influential friend, or parent, or whatever, right? Whoever you think is in authority or respect the most that you're taking all your opinions from, they don't know the truth any more than you do. And if they did, they would not be trying to convince you to believe their version of the truth. Occultism isn't out there trying to convince anyone of anything, right? And it gets a bad rap. Magic gets a bad rap, right? It's told it's secretive, so it must be bad, right? Occult means hidden. It doesn't mean dark or bad, just hidden. Because it isn't out there screaming, hey, I'm right, and this is the truth, right? No, magic doesn't do that. It doesn't need to. Magic cares way more about removing those things that hinder you and your abilities and sense of self-worth while giving you the means to acknowledge and grow all of that mind-blowing power that you really do have access to that maybe you never even knew was there. That's what magic cares about doing. That's what magic's effects are, right? So magic isn't needing to be out there screaming about how right it is. And anyone that is out there screaming about how right they are, they aren't. Occultists don't behave that way, right? So even an occultist, a very experienced, very empowered, high-level, high magical working magician, right? They are never going to walk up to you and tell you that they know the truth. What they're going to say is, I know nothing. What can you teach me? And that is the difference. That is an occult mindset. And that is how truth actually functions, right? It isn't this thing that someone knows and they can give to you. There's no fix, right? Everything's in you, and you really do have the ability to make up your own mind and to respect and acknowledge the minds of others. And all of this really does start with deprogramming, and even more with having the common sense and grace, right? Because it isn't easy. Like, it's never easy for any of us, especially at the start, to be graceful about this, to have the grace to be able to admit that, yes, you do, I do, we all do have limiting beliefs in place, right? I believe I can't fly. Now that's a limiting belief. It keeps me from jumping off of a roof because I think I would die. I would say that that's a limiting belief system that I want to keep in place, right? That limiting belief system serves me well. So I'm acknowledging it and choosing it on purpose, right? But limiting beliefs don't always serve you well. And the bad ones are there. It's a constant journey through life, right? This isn't one thing that you accomplish and then you're done. It's a journey, right? So being able first to admit that, yes, you do have limiting beliefs in place and that you're not always right, so that you can, as an initiate of the great mysteries, begin to actively seek out those limiting thoughts and behaviors within yourself. You can be able to spot them, those pesky, self-enslaving, holding you back from all the awesomeness you are, right? Those icky core beliefs that are limiting to you, that hurtful self-talk within yourself. Being able to know that you have them and then actively hunt them down and either evolve or remove them in exchange for beliefs and systems of your choice, whatever those beliefs might be, right? Core beliefs that serve you and empower you and let you decide what you should be. That's what Magick lets you do. It allows you to deprogram yourself. You aren't being powerfully, you are being powerfully influenced, but not by you. A majority of the time, unless you're an experienced or practiced occultist, right, or philosopher, or have some other self-initiate training or initiated training within some system of how to free and then control your own mind. Unless you're doing that, you are being powerfully influenced, programmed, and manipulated. We all are or were. Those forces are out there. They are being paid a lot of time and money and energy to get a hold of your head and keep control of your head. That's their job, right? Anyone who's trying to sell you a product that you might not need, that's what they're doing. There isn't anyone, and that product could be anything, right? It doesn't have to be a physical product. It could be an idea. There isn't anyone left who's foolish enough to deny that that's going on anymore. It is. It always has been in different ways for different reasons. To serve all sorts of different purposes, sometimes very bad purposes, generally, usually very powerful purposes, good or bad. It's just way, way, way more obvious now than I would say it used to be to most people, right? It's more obvious in modern day that this is going on. It's not deniable anymore. Now, it used to be that religion was the only big platform in the room spreading propaganda, right? And then it became religion and politics. And now it's religion, politics, and money. And some would say that money is actually religion and politics in its pure form, right? AKA corporations and media. And it's really funny how those three things, right? Religion, politics, money, they're the three things that we generally aren't supposed to bring up in politely civilized conversation, right? If you're at a dinner party, that's what you're not supposed to talk about. Politics, religion, how much do you earn or how much does someone else earn or what do they do for a living? Don't talk about it. The three things that we should all be most trained, experienced, and prepared to be able to discuss with open minds in calm and rational ways with one another, right? These very important, pivotal, fundamental things. Instead, we're actively taught, first of all, never bring it up because it will always be opinionated. You'll always get into an argument. It's considered rude. Okay, well, first of all, that doesn't need to be true. And that's part of the problem right there. And then on top of that, don't bring it up and then be okay and consider it normal not to bring it up. Right? Why? Why should that be the norm? So you see this functioning, instead of being able to talk to each other and debate with each other and learn from each other, right? Instead, you see very powerful, and it's an occult technique, right? It's occult polarity being employed to contain and constrain power, specifically your power or the power of the masses, of all the individuals who are taught to feel and think this way just like you. Now, your power, to whatever end you choose it to have, right, is now taken from you. And unless you're actually grounded and depolarized and making decisions for yourself because of a thoroughly analyzed and self-chosen system of beliefs that you've put into place, someone else is then choosing where your power should go for you. If you're not doing that, then that's what's going on, right? Or perhaps they're choosing how you shouldn't have your power and stripping it from you completely. It sounds super scary when I lay it out like this, but look around, right? That's the quote unquote reality, right? Reality for most people. That's what they're choosing to live in, and that's how they're thinking, and they think they're choosing it. They think they're choosing their opinion that they're right about, that they're then argumentative about. Because they've never stopped and bothered to ask themselves that question in the first place. Am I thinking for myself? And if I am, is it okay to listen to someone else who thinks differently than me? It doesn't mean I have to agree with them. Why on earth should it ever lead to an argument? It's a good question to ask, right? Am I thinking for myself? It's a question that you already invoked within yourself. If you're listening to my YouTube podcast, keep asking it, that question, right? Am I thinking for myself? And keep answering it to yourself for yourself. Yes, I am, or no, I'm not, or whatever. Because that is how occultists do. My friends and I, right? The more Magi circle of friends, whether it's Wicca or Hermetic or Freemasons I'm spending time with, Egyptian magicians, Enochian or Rosicrucians, you get the idea. When I'm around those people, I can tell you personally for a fact that we don't need to avoid talking about money, religion, or politics. Even if none of us who happen to be in the same room talking about those things share the same opinion. Even if we have completely dissenting opinions on all of it or any of it. It doesn't mean we don't talk about it. It doesn't mean we need to hide it. It doesn't mean it causes an argument. In fact, we adore discussing those things openly with each other, respectfully, challenging each other, learning from each other, refusing to allow these incredible avenues of thought and inquiry to devolve into a bigoted conversation of I'm right and you're wrong nonsense, and also refusing to allow anyone to tell us that those are topics we shouldn't talk about, or that those are topics that we shouldn't have access to, right? Or that you have to pick a side, or you can only discuss them with people who agree with you. No, right? That's a way to keep you small in small groups and disassociated and disinformed. Occult and magical practices will not let you get away with that. Magical practitioners think for themselves, and because rather than being insecure, they are very secure in their ability to think for themselves, to think freely, right? Because we aren't big on letting others do that for us. It doesn't arise that we need to find argument or conflict with each other. A thought is idea. Ideas carry energy. Energy is power. We are, each of us, responsible for our own power. So, why not find and use that power within yourself how you choose to? Are you thinking for yourself? That is the beginning of deprogramming. Until next time.